All right, the first thing you need to do to get the wall charger installed is put the wall plate on the wall, get that mounted, and that way your wall charger can just hook onto this. You've got 2 screws that hold it into place, as well as this where it slides into, and it stays on there real secure. And what this does is it allows you to take the charger off pretty easily. You just take out 2 screws, slip it off, and you don't need to drill in and out of your wall a whole bunch of times or into your studs and mess up your drywall. So that's the benefit of that. And the reason we took it off this time is I had put a NEMA 1450 pigtail plug on the charger instead of hardwiring it. And I've got a separate video on the channel on how to do that. So check that out if that's something you need to do. And I just needed a slightly longer pigtail. So I took the old one off and got the new one on. And so now we're getting it back on, and it was real easy to just take that off, take the old pigtail out, put the new one in and pop it right back on. So, and didn't have to remove this at all. And one thing to consider with the wall plate is, the screws that come with the Rivian Wall Charger are star bit screws. They require a star bit. And then there's 2 screws that secure the cover of the wall charger onto the wall charger. And those require a Torx bit, which is basically a star bit with just a little peg in the middle. I don't know why they didn't just use the same style bit for both of those, but that one bit that comes with the Rivian Wall Charger does work for both of these. And one of the things I stressed in the pigtail video is don't lose that bit, which of course I did. And I do have star bits at home. I didn't have a Torx bit, but luckily enough, the Ring doorbell screwdriver that I happen to have is a Torx bit, and it does work, again, like I said, for both of these. So a Torx bit will work with your star bit, but your star bit's not gonna work on a Torx bit screw. So just something to think about. Put that bit that comes with the wall charger in a safe place if you don't already have those bits at home. And then of course, if you don't, you can get them at any hardware store. All right, so we'll get the wall charger on here and we'll just show you how easy that is. You can see there's this hook over here. Here's the wall charger. And this is where that little hook will go. And then it just kind of sits flush after that. So pop that on. Just gotta kind of line it up, find where it is. There we go. And it just slides right on. And you can see even without the screws, that's pretty secure. So then there's 2 screws inside the unit, one sort of here on the left and one on the bottom. And of course, do those use a star bit or a Torx bit? No, they use Phillips. So Rivian does definitely want you to use every type of screwdriver head that's out there. And when I put in the NEMA 1450 plug, it was actually better for me to use a flathead to get the wires in place. And honestly, installing the pigtail is really the same as hardwiring it if you've got the hardwire option. You just feed your 3 wires through a slot at the bottom, put them into the spot that they need to go and just tighten them up. And so, like I said, I've got a video on that, so check that out if you need to. But we'll go ahead and get these 2 screws mounted in. They're kind of a little difficult to get to, so if you've got a magnetic screwdriver, that definitely helps. Otherwise, your screws, sometimes you're falling and chasing them around. But yeah, I'll get those on and then we'll pop back on. Okay, so now we've got the wall charger mounted, and you can see that's on there real secure, solid. So if you're pulling the actual charging cable around, which the Rivian one is pretty thick, so you want this thing on there secure so it doesn't have any give on the wall. Yeah, so that's on and secure. And so now one thing I wanted to point out, and this is super important, the Rivian wall charger on the inside, there's this little area with these little small toggle switches. And what that does is it limits, or it sets the charger to the amperage that you want running through the charger, or that the charger pulls. So for my case, where I've put in a NEMA 1450 pigtail, so this is gonna go into a NEMA 1450 outlet that's going to a 50 amp breaker. So the way you wanna set this is 80% of what your breaker amperage is. So if it's a 50 amp breaker, you're gonna wanna set your charger to only pull 40 amps. If you're wanting to get the full capacity of the charger and you're hardwired in to a 60 amp breaker, you're gonna wanna set this to 48 amps. And what's great is on the cover of the wall charger, they've kind of got a little guide for you, and it's also in the user manual as well. And it goes all the way down to a breaker size of 7.5 amps. So like I said, we've got a 50 amp breaker, NEMA 1450 outlet, and we want the current to be 40 amps. So what it says is you hit these switches, the first two need to be up, and the last one needs to be down. So this is really important because it won't, especially if you're running on a smaller breaker than 60 amps. That way you're not gonna pull more current than your breaker can handle. So then once you've done that, it's just as simple as getting this wall plate on. And the one thing you need to do is plug this in to the wall plate. So obviously they're providing power and communicating. And so it's just a real simple plug-in over here at the top. I say it's simple and then I struggle with it. There we go. And that just pops in. And then the way this lid goes on is you find the slot where it goes in, push it, and then just slide down. That's it. And then this is where those two Torx bits that I mentioned come into play. And they just both go on the bottom here to keep the charger or keep the wall plate on. So I'll screw those in real quick and then I'll pop right back in. All right, so we've got the wall charger mounted. Got the cable all wrapped up so you can see how that looks, and we've got it plugged in using the pigtail. And as you can see, the light bar up here on the top's lit up. When you're kind of in standby mode or not using the charger, it's white. When you are plugged in to the vehicle but not charging, it's blue. And then when it's charging, it turns green. And it all kind of fits the same aesthetic and design style of Rivian. So that really is the main reason to get the Rivian wall charger. There's a lot of good wall charger options out there that probably provide you with a little more capability than this one does for the price. But again, for the look of the Rivian and the branding and all that, that would be the reason to get this, to be honest. And it is, you know, weatherproof for outside, so you can mount it outside as well. The one drawback I could see with that is the Rivian cable, and it does have this great mount for the charging connector. So as always, Rivian's like design is excellent. But the one thing on this, the cable is thick, and I've got other J1772 wall chargers. Cable's not nearly this thick. It's definitely a lot more flexible. So if you're having to pull this wire and use the full 24 feet of it, and then rewrap it, I could see that kind of being a pain. I'm fortunate in that when we pull into the garage, I only need about this much cable. So it's super easy to get mounted up. Half the time I'll just keep the cable hanging down there, or even if I want to wrap it, you know, it's pretty easy when you're only dealing with about 5 feet of cable. And it does connect to the Wi-Fi, and you can do all that through the app. But again, that connection to the Wi-Fi doesn't really bring you a whole lot of capability. Anything that you want from this, as far as like how much power you're pulling, controlling it, you know, just seeing if it's charging or turning the charging on and off, you do through the app, but it's actually communicating through the vehicle to do that. It's actually not doing much with the charger. So I'm really not even sure what the Wi-Fi connection does, other than maybe getting it hooked up to your app. But it's not, you know, it's not smart in the sense that it's like looking at when rates are lower or higher and this and that and charging like that. It's so it is a very simple wall charger. So like I said, the reason to probably get it is just for the branding, the design style, and you know, so it looks kind of cool and fits the Rivian aesthetic. So that would be the reason to get it. But otherwise, I've been very happy with it. It works as it should. It's a charger. And like I said, it gives you do have the option to very easily put on a pigtail if you want to go into a NEMA 1450 outlet, or you can hardwire in. You can set it to have different amperage settings, so you're not pulling more power than you need to. So it's got that kind of safety feature in, and it's really easy to mount, put on the wall, take on and off, and work with it. So, and one of the things to point out, the one I've currently got, obviously, is a J1772 connector. Rivian much like many automakers out there, are going to be switching to the NACS connector, which is obviously better known as the Tesla connector. And that one, hopefully, will have a much thinner wire. Like I said, this one's really thick, so if you're dealing with it in long distances, it's kind of a pain. But maybe once they go to that NACS connector, Rivian will have a slightly thinner cable. So yeah, but otherwise, great looking unit. Works great with the Rivian, works great with other vehicles. I've used it on a lot of vehicles and have had no issues with communication or anything like that, or it getting started charging. So yeah, so if you want that branding, get this Rivian Wall Charger, and hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Hang loose, y'all.